Hey Dwellers, to stay up to date on all the latest news, reviews, openings and of course weekly programming, just click on the little guy here in the corner to subscribe and you'll get notifications when the newest content lands. And please enjoy the video. You know, some games aren't always as successful as others, and sometimes you get series as well as they start off, they just start nosediving in the end, whether it be budget cuts or change of developers or just general change inside the team. But sometimes, just sometimes, we get those magic moments where games manage to find themselves back on the crowning glory they once had. So, this week I thought I'd do top 10 games that saved their franchises or series with me, Shadow Soul Dweller. Now, starting off with at number 10, Alien Isolation. Oh, there's been so many Alien games. So many god-awful Alien games. Aside from probably the original Alien game being a success back on the original PlayStation, many different companies have attempted to make good Alien games and they just haven't hit the mark. And then Colonial Marines came in and broke probably all the fans' hearts that saw it. And then Alien Isolation came along and people expected that to be the same thing, but it actually instead gave us the heart-thumping, adrenaline-rushing experience where hiding in vents and tunnels could really turn into a deep experience whilst praying that the exomorph that was generally banging around above your head wouldn't get close enough to find you, even though you were counting down the time. And this game finally made people want to play the Alien series. And at number 9, Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Now, don't get me wrong, Assassin's Creed did really well in its earlier versions. 1 was a success, although it was a limited budget game. 2 came out and was an absolute blockbuster for the series. Following that, Brotherhood and Revelations came out as a trilogy for Ezio, and though they did well compared to 2, they did lack the colourful storytelling that 2 really nailed down. And then Assassin's Creed 3 and Liberation came out, which just dug the hole even deeper. And this did lead to fans turning away from the series, the damage that was done. And basically, a new team then stepped in to take on the challenge of trying to make Assassin's Creed good again. And the first game they developed was Black Flag, which from the get-go looked like a great game, but you know, Ubisoft has tricked us before. But instead, as a clear departure from the usual style, they added in the whole nautical side as well, a gigantic map for you to pirate around in, and they added in an incredibly rich story and a great cast of characters. And Black Flag really asserted itself as the best game in the series in the eyes of a lot of old fans and a lot of brand new fans as well, and really brought the Assassin's Creed, the whole genre, back to life. And at number 8 we've got Wolfenstein, The New Order. Now again, various attempts have been made to reboot the Wolfenstein series, as let's face it, Wolfenstein was the original first person shooter from way back in the day, and basically Activision struggled to find anything they could actually do with it that would pick up popularity again. And when people thought it was dead and done, Bethesda decided to pick up the rights and have a shot at it, and oh how they nailed it. They created an up-to-date version of the classic that made it feel the same way as the original did, but really added all that deep element into it that the game really needed. And it's led to 2 more successful sequels, and they've really helped create a fan base of both new and old followers again, saving the Wolfenstein name as it deserved to be. Number 7, Call of Duty World War II. Now the latest game in the series, well, there's been a few incarnations of Call of Duty and obviously different teams that have been involved with different titles, such as the Black Ops series and of course the Modern Warfare series they've done, and then obviously they've bounced into all the modern tech stuff as well. And basically the game series still always had its hardcore fan setting, but it was really struggling for a while, especially after Advanced Warfare came out. A lot of people got pulled away from the series, That was also showing the success that Battlefield 1 had of going back to the old school war style. So Call of Duty, I think they realised they had to do it in tow, and have gone back to World War II with it. And this is the first Call of Duty game that's really created a buzz and gotten people back into the series again, and expanded that fan base back out a bit more like it used to be before. And basically it's their first step towards once again becoming the first person shooter behemoth that they used to be. And let's hope they keep going with that, because at the moment it's looking like World War II could be its current saviour for the series. Number 6, Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda. Now, the Zelda series has never really had a struggle with any installments, especially since the 90s, and Twilight Princess was an incredibly successful game. But the reason I added this to the list was because Breath of the Wild is the Zelda game that's reintroduced the series to the world on a broader scale. As I said, Twilight Princess was highly successful within the fan base of Legend of Zelda, whereas I think Breath of the Wild has really opened it up to a lot more fans, a new fan base being able to get involved. There's obviously kids that are now playing it that have never come across the Legend of Zelda before, and the versatility of the Switch as well. It's been a launching game. It's probably generated a good deal of the success the Switch had off the get-go as well, knowing this game was coming. So it's a game that's truly, I think it's saved the series from going stagnant, and it's really allowed them to open up the door for what future Legend of Zelda games will look like as well. Number 5, Sonic Mania. Well, now, this was a game that really pulled on people. Now, as anybody knows who's into gaming, Sonic hasn't had the best luck since pretty much we went over to the 3D format of gaming. Whereas Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 did have good success. Aside from that, unfortunately the little blue dude has been damaged dramatically. And when we found out there was another set of games coming out, I think most people had the same thing of, well, after Sonic 2006 and Rise of Lyric, unfortunately there's a lot of damage done to the Sonic name, and it's been left with its hardcore fan base. Well, then came along Sonic Mania, and the moment they first showed screenshots of this, I personally was very intrigued. I know a lot of people got really excited about it as well, because they'd finally realised they needed to go back to the old school platform of being 2D from the side. Then it turned out as well the game was being created by modders that had been modifying other Sonic games for people to enjoy, from like the old ones, especially Sonic 1 and 2, because of the PC counterparts that they had on them. And basically then working along with the Sega team produced Sonic Mania, and everybody I've spoken to, myself or the reviews I've seen online, agreed Sonic Mania was the Sonic game that brought the series back into people's view again, because I know loads of people that have played it, all different ages, and basically this is what Sonic is, and it's fantastic, and they've added so many things in that made all the other games great. It was just the best way to go about it, and hopefully this is the point in the right direction for Sonic games, although they have released one more Sonic game since then, Sonic Forces, and well, that's been a bit less of a blockbuster, shall we say. But as for Sonic Mania, this is the game that's made people go, yes, Sonic's back. So it had to be sitting the list. Number 4, Doom 2016. Well, when Bethesda brought out the licensing rights to Doom, a lot of people were very curious as to why they'd want it, as Doom 3 was met with criticism from a lot of people outside of the hardcore fan base. It was a decent game, but for Doom it really wasn't a Doom game, whereas once it came out it basically hit the market, split decisions everywhere, but overall people had decided Doom was obviously dead, it was a relic of the past, and that was it. Then Bethesda brought out Doom, and E3 rolled around, and on the Bethesda panel they revealed the first views of the actual new game, and everybody was blown away by it. Then when the game actually came out, it managed to bring old school fans in and a whole host of new fans in together to really rejuvenate the love for Doom like it used to have just through its high level graphic violence, the added gore kills, and the nostalgia for older fans as they remade the first one and they rocket jumped it all the way that high that now the Switch has even got its own port of Doom because people just fell in love with it again. And I've known at least 3 people I've seen online that they've played it, and then their next thing is they come up, they're playing the original Doom, and then they're trying to play through the old Dooms. So for a game that saved its franchise, Doom 2016 did the job absolutely perfect. Number 3, Final Fantasy 15. Well, Final Fantasy was the dominating force in gaming anyway for RPGs for so long. It's had all its main series, loads of spin-offs, and all the way up till 10 it was fantastic, it was well received, it always sold brilliantly. And then number 11 came out when they tried to move on to an online server. Now don't get me wrong, a lot of games do well online as MMOs. Final Fantasy actually did do quite well as an MMO, but it didn't really focus towards that Final Fantasy fan group that it had before and kind of turned itself into a separate game. Then we got 12, we got 13, we had Lightning Returns came out as well. So there were games that were enjoyable, but focusing on adding all these new elements and creating a linear type of gameplay drove a lot of Final Fantasy fans away, as the story wasn't that strong and the gameplay wasn't that strong either, and it kind of took a big step away from what made Final Fantasy truly what it was in the first place. So Final Fantasy 15 came along, and obviously we all made the presumption the same thing was coming again. When Final Fantasy 15 landed, it blew a lot of people away. It really did, and people that were still pessimistic were still able to enjoy it, and they finally went back to the proper open world, true Final Fantasy experience, and they added new elements in, like the cooking and the driving in the car, the travelling, and they really just created something brilliant that felt like Final Fantasy again, and it's been the first step for rebuilding a fan base for the series. So Final Fantasy 15 has to be the game that saved that entire series out of a lot of them, because it was well overdue and it did its job fantastically. Assassin's Creed Origins for number 2. Normally I only have one game per series in my list, but for this list I had to break the rule, because just as Black Flag broke the trend of the games starting to go stale, again Assassin's Creed Origin is the next gen saviour of the Assassin's Creed series, as basically again made by the exact same team, the Black Flag team. They gave us this amazing, open, beautiful world of Egypt, and we just hadn't seen that yet. Unity lost a lot of fans with a flat story, horrible glitches and bugs that half of them were ground-breaking bugs that just ruined the game for you, because they had a 4th release that was far too early, and then Syndicate picked up. Syndicate was a good game, but it just wasn't good enough to reverse a lot of the damage and build the excitement back up for the Assassin's Creed series. And a lot of people have held on to the fact that Assassin's Creed has gone on too long and it's outstayed its welcome. Now, Origins has landed, and I've heard nothing but good things about Origins so far. I've played it myself, there's a review coming for that soon, but Origins really is the game that's opened it all up again, giving you so many new things to do and a really deep, rich storyline, great characters, and really made you want to immerse yourself in the Assassin's Creed world once again. And I feel from what I've seen and the positive feedback it's had inside the Assassin's Creed community and outside of it as well, it's hopefully it's the game that saved the series, and now Ubisoft can learn from this and move forward with it and turn it back into the great game series it was always meant to be. And number 1, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Now I know most people will hear Call of Duty on any kind of list with the older games and be surprised. Obviously I mentioned World War II earlier because the last few games were faltered before that, but people that either aren't old enough or just won't remember back then, back to the 90s, basically Medal of Honor was the war first-person shooter series. It dominated the market in every aspect there, and Call of Duty released a good few games on 1 and 2, but they struggled to keep up with Medal of Honor, and because of that they lost a lot of their funding throughout time. Modern Warfare basically was a gamble attempt where Activision was in trouble and it handed over the rights to Call of Duty over to Treyarch, and Treyarch dug in with its ideas that they had and produced Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which, unless you've been living under a rock or you've just gotten into gaming, you should know it turned out to be the biggest name that came out for that time. It was the game of the year easily. It changed how first-person shooters were made and presented now, because all of them now take influences from Modern Warfare, and it also completely rebirthed the whole online concept for first-person shooters as well. It brought in all the different elements of stealth, shooting, tactical planning, and it gave such a rich, deep storyline that you could truly get involved in as well, that it carried across all three Modern Warfare games just because of how good the first Modern Warfare game was. And it saved them completely, because if Modern Warfare hadn't been a success, Activision would have had to have closed down the entire branch. Treyarch probably wouldn't have come out of it alright either. So it has to be the #1 game that truly saved its franchise over the modern era. Well, let me know what you think of the list. Do you agree with the list? Do you have games in there yourself you think should have been in the list? Obviously, I always like to hear from you guys as well. Also, as a side personal note, thank you for listening. I'm sorry, my voice isn't quite 100% at the moment. As I've said in my previous video, I've been fighting off of being a bit ill at the moment. But I'm still going to keep these videos going out to you guys. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. It's going to be popping up at the end of this video, or just there in the bottom right hand corner with the little guy. And there's much more content coming out. Hopefully there'll be something in there for you to enjoy, and I will see you out there. And as always, thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you liked it. Also, if you want to stay up to date as well, another way is you can catch me on Facebook. The address just there on the screen. And of course, for more videos, you just look to your left there. You can see that'll be one of the latest videos that's landed. And to the right here is a video picked by YouTube just for you. And of course, hit the guy in the middle to subscribe if you haven't already, to stay up to date on all the latest content.